بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله تعالى نحمده ونستعين به ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تبارك وتعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى، وأحسن الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. أسأل الله العزيز الغفار أن يجيرنا وإياكم من عذاب النار. نكمل إن شاء الله تبارك وتعالى حديثنا عن الحديث السابع في رياض الصالحين باب النية. وكما رأيتم سبحان الله أن الحديث صغير في متنه عظيم في معانيه، فالنبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أوتي جوامع الكلم. We continue inshallah ta'ala the hadith number 7 in the chapter of the intention. And as you notice, subhanAllah, the hadith is pretty small in its text, but subhanAllah, the meanings of it are tremendous, is because of the eloquence of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He says a few words, but subhanAllah, they contain a lot of meaning. So the hadith is, verily Allah does not look at your bodies, nor does He look at your shapes, but He looks at your hearts. And in another narration, He looks at your deeds. And we spoke about the importance of protecting the heart from the shaitan when he comes to, first of all, the doubts that he tries to put in the hearts of the sons of Adam. And we talked about also, subhanAllah, the fact that he tries to put a shirk, subhanAllah, the phenomenon of shirk, ascribing partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the heart of the son of Adam. And if you remember, we talked about the fact that the shirk, subhanAllah, is the most dangerous of sins, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive that partners are taken with Him in worship, but He subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives whatever is lesser in gravity to whoever He wills. He said that twice in Surah An-Nisa. But we talked about the fact that subhanAllah, the shirk that the majority of this ummah gets afflicted with is the shirk al-asghar, وهو الرياء, showing us. لذلك ذكره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في كثير من الأحاديث. ذكرنا لكم حديث الترمذي الذي حديث محمود بن لبيد. وهذا الصحابي إن لم تكونوا تعرفوه فهو من صغار الصحابة، وأدرك النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو صغير. محمود بن لبيد is not someone that is very well known. It's because he's the last generation of the Sahaba. He was able to see the Prophet as a young boy. So subhanAllah, he had that honor even as a young boy. قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إن أخوف ما أخاف عليكم الشرك الأصغر. The thing that I fear for you the most is the smaller shirk. قالوا يا رسول الله وما الشرك الأصغر? They said, يا رسول الله, what is the smaller shirk? قال الرياء. He said, showing us. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى لهم، أي لأهل الرياء، يوم يجازي العباد بأعمالهم اذهبوا إلى الذين كنتم تراءون في الدنيا فانظروا هل تجدون عندهم جزاء. Allah Ta'ala tells the people of Riyad, on the day of reckoning, the day that everyone gets their reward, subhanAllah, the people of showiness, they stay aside, and then He tells them, Allah Ta'ala tells them, go to the people that you were showing off for and see if they will give you any reward. نسأل الله العفو والعافية والسلام. We ask Allah Ta'ala to protect us. فكيف نطهر قلوبنا من هذا الداء من هذا الشرك الأصغر أو الرياء. How do we protect ourselves and we clean our hearts from this? It's basically very simple. That subhanAllah, you tell yourself that whoever that a person is showing off for, that they will not be able to benefit you on the day of reckoning, because they'll be in the same situation, in the same boat as yourself. They will need help, and they will be in dire need of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are people that will not protect you from the punishment of Allah, nor will they be able to give you any of the reward. So subhanAllah, it's very easy to, it's just a matter of, subhanAllah, something that we have to program in ourselves. Because all of us are victims to a lot of bad habits, social habits, and as I said before, it is from human nature that we always try to give the best presentation about ourselves. We like to show people the best side of ourselves. And subhanAllah, and there's no problem with that, but when it comes to the ibadah, to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it should be, whether you're by yourself or you're around other people, it should be the same thing. SubhanAllah. If not, if you are by yourself, then you have to increase your ikhlas, your sincerity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even more, because you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be pleased with you. وكما تعلمون من نوى بعبادته التقرب إلى الخلق بعد عن الله عز وجل وأبعد عنه الخلق. Whoever intends with his worship to get closer to the creation of Allah instead of the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be displeased with him. He will push him away. He will be farther away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make even the creation that he was trying to get close to farther away. And this comes to us in the famous hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. حديث معاوية رضي الله عنه أنه كتب إلى عائشة أم المؤمنين رضي الله عنها أن اكتبي إلي كتابا توصيني فيه ولا تكثري علي. Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan wrote a letter to Aisha رضي الله عنها. He said, write a letter to me in which you give me advice, but don't make it too much, don't make it too heavy. And as you know, Aisha رضي الله عنها, one of the scholars of the Sahaba, tremendous knowledge that she had, all the Sahaba learned from her. So, فكتبت عائشة رضي الله عنها إلى معاوية سلام عليك أما بعد فإني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول من التمس رضاء الله بسخط الناس كفاه الله مؤونة الناس ومن التمس رضاء الناس بسخط الله وكله الله إلى الناس والسلام عليك. سبحان الله. يعني نصيحة بليغة قصيرة وبليغة جدا من نصائح النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So Aisha wrote back to Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan radiallahu anhu, and she said, I heard the Prophet ﷺ saying, whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah's pleasure by the people's wrath. You seek Allah's pleasure by making other people angry, even if people get angry at you, then subhanAllah, Allah will suffice him from people. And whoever seeks the pleasure of Allah, of a pleasure of people by Allah's wrath, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will entrust him to the people. Meaning Allah ta'ala will leave him for the people that he's trying to please, subhanAllah. And then she said, Assalamu alaikum. But this is, it reminds me of a personal story that I'll share with you. In 2003, my father was severely ill. Kidney failure, he was getting dialysis, he had heart problems. And that year, I traveled back home like 3 or 4 times to go see him. And subhanAllah, after I just came back from the trip seeing him, within a week or two, I received a call. They tell me that we took him to the hospital, he's in critical condition. There's a chance you won't be able to catch, to see him. And it was already about 5 or 6 p.m. All the planes that will go overseas had gone already. So subhanAllah, so I booked a flight for the next day. And at 3:30 in the morning, they called me, they told me, Ajarakallah, he passed away. Allahumma fir lahu warhamhu. So, subhanAllah, so they asked me, do we wait? What do we do? Do we bury him? I said, no, bury him right away. Don't wait, ikram al-mayyiti, dafnu. But subhanAllah, I called a good friend of mine. If all of you remember Sheikh Abu Anas, he's been here a few times. That's his brother. I called his brother. And I said, please, I want you to take charge of my father's funeral. That means even if you have to fight people, fight. But I want my father's funeral to be on the sunnah 100%. I don't want any bid'ah. You are in charge. You don't allow any nonsense to take place. And subhanAllah, that's what happened. And they buried my father. Alhamdulillah, everything was on the sunnah. And I got there, when I arrived the next day, subhanAllah, people in my family, they barely wanted to greet me. And they don't want even want to say salam alaikum to me. Everyone is angry. Everyone is angry, subhanAllah. But I didn't care. Because I know that I did the right thing for my father, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him rahmah and maghfirah. And subhanAllah, and they were angry that day, but I saw the fruit of that afterwards. I saw the relationship with these people. It's gotten better, it's gotten stronger. They couldn't help but to give me respect because of the stand that I took. They were angry that day, a day or two, but subhanAllah. And other blessings happened in the funeral. Wallahi, out of the blue, this big scholar showed up to my father's funeral. I don't even know him. Somebody brought him. And instead of them doing any kind of bid'ah or this collective recitation of the Quran that they do and everything, we had a big scholar, PhD in Hadith. He gave a nice lecture. It turned out to be one of the best funerals that I attended, subhanAllah. Just because of the little effort in pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. Even if people will get angry at you a little bit, doesn't mean that you go out purposely make people angry, but subhanAllah, you think of Allah first. And Allah ta'ala makes everything work out at the end. That's what this hadith is talking about. سبحان الله رواه ابن حبان بلفظ آخر قال من التمس النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من التمس رضا الله بسخط الناس رضي الله عنه وأرضى عنه الناس. Whoever looks for the pleasure of Allah within the displeasure of people, Allah will be pleased with them and He will make the people pleased with them. Sooner or later, if this doesn't happen at the beginning, but it will happen at the end somehow. But if you reverse it, whoever looks for the pleasure of people in the displeasure of Allah, Allah Ta'ala will be displeased with him and He will make the people displeased. And this one, wallahi, I'm not going to tell you a story, but I had experience with it. Every time that a loved one, especially someone that you look up to and you respect, and you try to please him in a way that is not pleasing to Allah, wallahi, they're the first one. ينقلبون عليك. مش هيك؟ أول واحد ينقلب عليك هذا. The first one that will turn against you is that person. Subhanallah. I'll give you a small example. Wallahi, this happened probably about 15 years ago. And religiously, I was just in the beginnings, learning. So I went traveling back home, and this person from the family that I respect a lot, he said he wanted me to go to his sister's daughter's wedding. So I said, okay. I had met his sister's husband. This is someone respectable that knows the Quran. I said, this is probably going to be a good wedding that I'm used to. I go, and they're playing music and doing all this kind of stuff. And I rode with him in his car in a strange city that I don't know. And I got stuck in a situation, just waiting to get out. So basically, I found that situation because I wanted to please the guy. But I did not please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, within a couple of years later, I was with that same person in a setting, and there was another person who was really religious and had knowledge, so we were discussing hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, knowledge and things like that. And the guy was annoyed by our discussion. He said, you know, this guy, he went with me to a wedding, and they were singing and they were dancing. Right there, boom. SubhanAllah. He was the first one, and the first one, he's the first one that turned against me. And this is one of many examples here that I'm sure many of us will experience. So we have to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first before pleasing the people. And subhanAllah, يعني وهذا من الأمور التي يعني يتنبه إليها. We have to pay attention to this, يا أخوة والله. يعني it's just without fail. The recipe that the Prophet ﷺ gives us, we follow them, and it's fail-proof. Fail-proof completely. Just follow, just close your eyes and follow blindly what the Prophet ﷺ said, and you will always prevail at the end. You will always come up on top. But wallahi, you go against, you follow your hawa, or you get weak because of this or that, because of a family member, because of someone that you're trying to please, wallahi, it will turn against you sooner or later, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will leave you on your own. He will not help you in that situation. But subhanAllah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the awareness when it comes to this. But ya ikhwa, and this is what Shaykh ibn Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala closed the explanation of this or part of the explanation of this hadith. He said that the heart is a important and tremendous commodity that we have to protect and we have to keep as clean as possible. Subhanallah. But it is impossible it is very difficult to do so. But if you do it on a daily basis, it's just like when someone that cleans his home on a daily basis, as opposed to one that cleans every week or every month. And everything that is subhanAllah, the accumulation of the dirt and the filth makes it more and more difficult to clean. Or subhanAllah, the accumulation, it leaves traces, and there are stains. There are stains that you will not be able to remove. But if you're doing it on a daily basis, there will be no stain on it. By doing istighfar, by doing muhasabah. حاسبوا أنفسكم قبل أن تحاسبوا وزنوا أعمالكم قبل أن توزن عليكم. عمر رضي الله عنه، هذا ليس حديث النبي ولكنه حديث موقوف على عمر رضي الله عنه. Judge yourself before you get judged, before Allah judges you. Subhanallah. وزنوا أعمالكم قبل أن توزن عليكم, and weigh your deeds before it gets weighed. Subhanallah. So it's important for us, Allah, on a daily basis, before you go to sleep, sit with yourself for a little bit and think, Allah, I did this, this is not the right thing to do. And I did that, it was not the right thing to do. And I said this and that, and I know Allah Ta'ala will not be pleased with what I said. So let me repent to Allah. Let me do istighfar. SubhanAllah. Mustaghfir min al-dhanbi kaman la dhanba. Whoever constantly repents from his sin and transgressions, almost like someone who does not have any sin. And those stains that I'm talking about, they are from the sins and the transgressions. That's what stains our heart. Wallahi. Yani, and I'm sure all of us experience this. The more you do good deeds, the more you are able to do. Yani, the more you're able to do, and the more Allah allows you. فيقال أن الحسنة تجلب أختها والسيئة كذلك. The good deed, it brings its sister along the way. You do one good deed, then Allah Ta'ala allows you to do another one. And He facilitates another one for you. And He makes easy another one. But similarly, on the flip side, you fall in a sin or transgression, then subhanAllah, one will bring the other. Just think about one day, for example, that you neglected to pray the salah on time. Like Fajr, you didn't wake up. We know for a fact that 9 times out of 10, you will be late for Dhuhr, then you will miss Asr. It's a chain reaction. and with hasanat and say. And similarly with hasanat, like for example, we come and we do a lot of hasanat in Ramadan, and Allah keeps giving us more and more and more. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to cleanse the heart, because subhanAllah, Allah ta'ala says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the day that neither your wealth nor your offspring will benefit you, except for those that come to Allah with a sane heart. So may Allah ta'ala clean our hearts. May He subhanahu wa ta'ala make you and I from the ones that when they hear the speech, they follow the best of it. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك والحمد لله رب العالمين وجزاكم الله خيرا.